What's up, Dice Crew? Keeping it a Benji, and I'm getting back with y'all. Now we got ADAM22 sitting down with VLAD TV, and they gonna be discussing China Mac. And I'm gonna keep it a Benji for y'all doing my reaction. Y'all keep it a Benji for me in the comments. Shout out to the Dice Crew, and shout out to the sponsors. Y'all are down bullies. I'm gonna have a link in the description so y'all can tune in and see what they got going on. Let's rock.
Recently I was thinking about how the biggest interviews, like for example, like the Shannon Sharp, Cat Williams interview, that was now the biggest interview on YouTube. The second biggest was Joe Rogan talking to this alien guy.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the second biggest interview ever?
That was the biggest one until the Cat Williams interview.
Wow.
And I had Dr. Stephen Greer do a couple interviews. They've all done huge numbers. And it's like you start to realize that the conspiracy stuff, the stuff that's probably just a complete lie, but you can't quite prove it's a lie, that's the stuff that does the best. And I've spent most of my career focusing on the truth and focusing on factual things and not really creating fake beef or fake situations and stuff like that. This is why kind of like the China Mac thing, I was sort of thrown off with that whole prank that he did, because I'm like, this is not what I do. Like I can imagine if I was just a prankster, like, oh, okay, prank on me. No, I don't do pranks. I've never pranked anybody, actually. And you start to realize, though, that like the fake stuff just does so much better, but there's also repercussions for it. So it's a balancing act. I've always just chosen to kind of stay away from it, because it's like, yeah, it could potentially blow up or whatever, but I'm thinking long term. And what if someone gets shot? What if someone gets stabbed? What if someone gets beat up and sues me?
Vlad got a point. I definitely understand where he's coming from when he said, I don't participate in that type of stuff. So why would you even, invite me into being in that type of situation when I don't participate in those type of scenarios? However, I feel like it is creative for China Mac to put a person that don't participate in certain stuff in a new situation. I mean, that's just always something that people is interested in. If this person is usually doing this, but they're going to do something different, people are usually tune in for that. So I understand where Vlad was coming from, and I understand where China Mac was coming from.
Well, the Crip Mac thing, before I let you go, I remember you did a video that a lot of people were upset over. And I guess Crip Mac is facing a gun charge now. And you said you were too busy to speak on his behalf.
So China Mac is a bitch. Number one, let's just get that out of the way. And
Adam got the right to call a person whatever he wants to call a person. That's his choice. But I feel like he should kind of chill out on calling people a B word. You know what I mean? Especially like that's one of the reasons why him and Milk 74 wasn't seeing eye to eye when he went on bootleg Kev with AD and he called him the B word. It's like, unless you're trying to really fight a person or something like that, I don't feel like another man should be calling another man a B word. That's just my opinion, though.
He tried to basically like set me up by asking me to go to the court the next day to speak on Crip Mac's behalf. Now, my schedule is set up much like yours is set up, where every day for this week, next week, the week after that, realistically, I'm booked out like 3-4 weeks in the future at all times. So tomorrow, I have to do multiple interviews, and a lot of these are people that we flew out, or at the very least who flew themselves out, and this is, why they're in town. And so from my perspective, I have a responsibility to my employees and as well as these guests that, I have shit to do. And nobody can just tell me like, hey, tomorrow, come do this. It could be the dopest opportunity in the fucking world, and I pretty much have to say no to it because I have so many interviews. And if I don't do them that day, what's going to happen? They're going to get pushed to the next day. So I'm going to have to I'll probably have to help out with hotels and whatever. I'm going to have to fucking help people to extend their flights, whatever. So like China Mac telling me to go do that on one day's notice is ridiculous. Like nobody can tell a successful person that they need to like completely uproot their entire schedule. So I just thought that was total bullshit that he tried.
I really can't speak on whether it's true or not, because, I just don't know if China Mac gave him a day ahead heads up, or a week, a month. I just don't know. But what Adam22 is saying does make sense if it is true. Like, if it is true, I definitely get where he's coming from on how he got everything lined up, locked in, everybody's ready to go. And if he just started doing a lot of rescheduling, it could definitely put his whole system behind. And I understand that on the business side of things and just prioritizing.
To like paint that narrative. But then it really came around when Crip Mac said one thing about China Mac from behind bars. And keep in mind, this is China Mac just did a documentary or like a big YouTube video where he was saying that he was going to leave the country if Crip Mac actually got like 5 to 10 years in prison, right? He said he was going to leave the country. He was going to move to China or Canada. I don't know what it was. That's how committed China Mac was claiming that he was to Crip Mac. Crip Mac called somebody from jail and basically said something about how China Mac needs to stop running his mouth about the Mexicans or some shit like that. Boom, done. China Mac's gone. Left his career immediately. So
now, I got to weigh in on that, right? What it was is, and we made a video about it, but what it was is that Crip Mac called in on a public platform, let somebody put it out there, and he was pretty much insulting China Mac. Like, he was saying stuff like, yo, I got people running by myself saying that China Mac out there acting too tough. So he was like, yo, China Mac, stop acting tough. Just be the buddy waddy you are. That buddy waddy was just like a slang terminology that China Mac and Crip Mac used to use for each other. And in so many ways, if you come from these streets or just any masculine background, a person acting like, are throwing words at you like quit acting tough, you implying that I'm not really tough in so many ways. And also, if we friends and we homies and, when we do business dealings, it be private. I'm sure when China Mac was sending Crip Mac funds and stuff behind the walls, that was private. So why Crip Mac didn't continue that same relationship by getting at China Mac privately? So I feel like that was definitely Crip Mac's fault. The same way Crip Mac did that with Brick Baby. And I can't think of nobody else right now, but I think it was like 3 people total. China Mac, Brick Baby, and somebody else.
The same guy who like 3 weeks prior was trying to paint this narrative of me that I was such a bad friend.
Left his career. What does that mean?
He was managing him and working together and stuff. But then as soon as Crip Mac was locked up and wasn't able to be a source of profits for China Mac left and hasn't had anything to do with him since. Meanwhile, I'm the one who's actually put money on his books, who talks to him on the phone, puts it on the YouTube channel, still stay in touch with him, still talk to Lupe and the other people on his team and shit like this. So it's like, it was an example of China Mac trying to make me look like a bad friend and look like I was fake, when really like those descriptions apply to no one better than it applies to China Mac. So that was kind of shocking to me, because China Mac is somebody who he has no motion on his own. Like, he has to exclusively rely on other people. And like,
I mean, I done defended that topic many times, maybe a few times, whatever, but I don't understand how Adam22 feel like China Mac doesn't have any motion. China Mac definitely has his own motion. I mean, he definitely got his own ideas. He got his own agenda. He got his own creativity. I mean, he's in a lane of his own. He chose to run around here and do that Mac Eats, going to different places, experiencing their food. He did the Mac Talk. That even blew up in a small window. Had a lot of people going over there, even had VLAD over there. And he rolled over to doing that situation with Crip Mac on the Mac Ventures. That was succeeding. I mean, Adam have even brought China Mac on No Jumper, because I feel like you only brought him because, China Mac was like a walking piece of content. He used to do stuff with ADAM and everything. And also, like I said, for China Mac to be a person he's doing content in different states, different regions, different countries, that's just that's just creative. To me, that's creative in itself. You know what I mean? That he's not really just totally following the same blueprint or the same pattern that so many other people is doing on the internet.
All the time, I do interviews with people, and they'll just mention at some point, like, yeah, that guy China Mac tried to manage me. And a lot of times it's people from like all over the world. Like he's really just DMing people left and right, trying to just find new people to manage because he knows that his career isn't going anywhere with it.
Well, if China Mac feel like he is good at managing people and he's willing to be a manager, then ain't nothing wrong for him to shoot his shot and see if people is open for that agreement. You know, either you want to be managed by China Mac or you don't. But sometimes he's probably looking at people like, I can uplift your career where it's at. You know what I mean? From where it's at. You know, I can elevate that.
Out somebody who's got some kind of star power. And I feel like Crit Mac was kind of like his exit from doing anything in hip hop, because I don't think anybody's ever going to trust him again after that.
Well, Crit Mac is still locked up.
I don't believe that neither, because I feel like in the hip hop community, just really like the real hip hop community, I think they all rock with China Mac more than they rock with Crit Mac. And that's no offense to Crit Mac, you know, free Crit Mac, give him strength. Hopefully he can overcome what he's going through. Shout out to his family, friends, and fans, and all that. But I feel like hip hop as a whole definitely have more of a relationship with China Mac than Crit Mac.
Crit Mac he pled guilty. He's awaiting sentencing on federal gun charges.
How long is he facing?
I think like 3 or 4 years might be like kind of optimistic, and 10 years would be the longest sentence he could possibly get. So probably somewhere around 5 years, maybe a year or two less than that if we're lucky.
Sheesh. And he's, what, in his 30s?
I don't even think he's 30 yet. He might be like 28 or 29. He might be 30. I'm not sure.
Sad situation, man.
No, definitely.
Sad situation. And, yeah, you know, listen, I've spoken about my situation with China Mac. I don't have anything against him. My whole thing was the prank he pulled by having someone around say they had a gun was not something that sat right on me.
Right.
You could prank someone, but if you're talking about guns or in the vicinity, a gun could go off, I can get killed, I can get shot. Like, it's not funny.
He's not the sharpest tool in the shed.
When he admitted to me, he apologized to me. He said, you know, something, I didn't think it out all the way through. You know, the problem was also...
And, you know, shout out to China Mac for understanding some things that he might have made a mistake in, and he apologized. Shout out to China Mac on that.
This was done on live. So there was no, like, I'm stuck in this situation, not, you know, because, you know, listen, we do interviews and I tell people to cut out certain parts. People ask me to cut out certain parts. That could happen. When it's on live, you don't know what the hell's going to happen. I didn't know how I was going to react. You're talking about, you got a guy yelling at each other, guys yelling at each other, talking about, I'm going to go get my gun. And it was like, okay. You know, and his comparison was, well, you know, Vlad puts people in uncomfortable situations. There are some titles that kind of, you know, put me in uncomfortable situations. So I want to put him in, you know, in similar things. And it's like, well, that's a little different.
I'm going to get revenge on you.
Yeah, like it's a little bit different saying you had a problem with the title, which you could have called me and asked me to change.
But I do have to give it to China Mac that I do think that like his role in the culture is kind of important, because there is a stereotype about Asian people that they're all just like really, really smart. And I think that his existence is like a pretty good argument against that stereotype.
Now listen, that was almost funny, right? It was just almost funny, just because I do understand what ADAM22 is saying. Like, most people just look at China people and people from China, or how do you word it, like Chinese people is just you know, the geniuses, you know. So it's funny that he's trying to, like, he said that like in a genuine way, like he was finna give China Mac some flowers, but he really was insulting him. But shout out to China Mac, shout out to all Chinese people. I feel like a lot of people ain't gonna feel what ADAM22 just said. You know what I'm saying? All that stuff. Like, it's always a sensitive topic when you get to talking about a whole culture. But we're gonna tune in and see what goes on. I'm sure China Mac gonna respond. It's probably gonna be a great response.
I think China...
A stereotype about Asian people that they're all just like really, really smart. And I think that his existence is like a pretty good argument against that stereotype. So
I think China Mac is smart. I'm not sitting here like I've never said anything negative about China Mac. I just told him I don't have him on my platform because of a specific situation.
I tried him out as a No Jumper host.
Oh, how did that work out?
I ended up feeling like he has the communicative skills of somebody who was hit in the head with a brick earlier that day. Like he just really, I actually think he might be retarded.
I don't get that impression.
Or at least it's like very low IQ. Like
I've hung out with him. I'm not.
He's tried to be a media personality for years,
Remember,
and he is so fucking dumb.
I am not bashing you on this.
He is so dumb. Like he is real. Like I please go watch the No Jumper Show episode with China Mac on it, and just tell me what you think of him as a podcaster.
What?
I don't agree with that, right? I just feel like China Mac didn't really he didn't really fit in with that whole settings that be taking place up there at No Jumper. You know what I mean? Like, I think he probably just definitely had to get the ball rolling a little bit more so they can establish a lot more chemistry. Then maybe it could have got better. But it wasn't like it ain't like he did, 20 tryouts and it was just trash. Because at the end of the day, when it come to podcasting, Mac Talk was definitely decent. I was rocking with that. I think everybody was rocking with that for the most part.
Everyone got their own role. Everyone got their own path. I was the first person to put him on.
I know.
And he's acknowledging that. He's always acknowledged that. I think he's got some interesting stories. He's got an interesting personality. Sometimes people, they make decisions that they don't think all the way through.
Right.
And I think that happened with us.
I would say his whole career kind of falls under that description.